Did I just make the best lo-fi chill study music on the planet? That's not rhetorical, by the way. Actually go down in the comments and tell me whether or not you think this is the best lo-fi chill study music on the planet. But before you do that, I got just a little bit of splaining to do. Let's get weird with music. Your boy is really easily distracted. Like, really easily distracted. Like, I'll probably, through the filming of this, go off on like a dozen different tangents that I'll end up having to cut and post because they have nothing to do with anything. So with that, whenever I'm working, I oftentimes like to have some music going in the background to keep me focused. However, sometimes that music can itself become the thing I'm getting distracted by. The problem I have is when this 3 or 4 minute long song ends, another song begins playing, and I have to come up with an opinion of this new song before I can get back and focused on my work. When that happens like every 4 minutes, I'm never gonna get anything done. However, I've also seen some like study music songs that are like 30 minutes long because they just take their 4 minutes and then they loop it over and over again. And I can usually get a few more miles out of that, but after a while, this same melody digs into my brain and I get so sick of it, distracting me from the thing I'm trying to focus on in the first place. So in other words, songs are either too short and that's a problem, or too long and that's a problem. So I need to make a song that's long enough to where I don't get distracted every time the song changes, but not so repetitive that I hate listening to it. And to do that, we're gonna have to learn some music theory. Okay, so this is a 16-bar phrase, and in this 16-bar phrase, we're putting 8 chords, each one of them playing for 2 bars. Of course, as you might have guessed, these chords that I'm choosing are not arbitrary. So this first chord, C, has the notes C, E, and G. Now, if we split our whole progression in half, you'll find that the first chord of the second half is an A minor, which has an A, a C, and an E. C and A minor have a special relationship in that they both contain 2 of the exact same notes, and that's no coincidence either. E minor and G share 2 notes, A minor and C again share 2 notes, and F and D minor share 2 notes. Now keep that in mind while I bring in this other piece of music, this time an 8-bar phrase. On here I'm going to put an F major 7, which is made up of the notes F, A, you guessed it, C, and E. Now what this allows me to do is play this same chord over top the first and second half of my original 16-bar phrase. Of course, this G is still going to get played, it just, instead of us hearing it as the 5th on the C, we're going to hear it as the 9th on the F major 7. Okay, so we're going to do one more just for funsies. We're going to see what happens if we put an A minor 7 right here over top of this E minor. And of course, this is a looped 8-bar phrase, so we have to do the same thing to both sides. And I'm going to go ahead and quickly spell out these chords. Once again, the top chord contains a note which is not in the bottom chord, so we have to update what the bottom chord would sound like when they're played together. Once again, we have to do the same thing on the other side. This one's going to contain a 9 and an 11, which is a little spicy, but we're going to make it work. Now, just to prove that you can pretty much keep stacking these chords forever, I'm going to add one more layer. So all of these chords on the bottom have an A, a C, and an E in common, which means we can pretty safely put A minor in a 4-bar phrase below it. Of course, we'll be hearing this A minor along with the extra notes F and G from the other 2 chords. The chord that we'll be hearing is an F major 7 add 9. Now this is pretty exciting because it gives us the potential to have the chord A minor play 4 times and each one of them sound like a different chord to us. And of course we can keep making smaller and smaller loops from there. Are you still with me? Because this is fixing to get really exciting. So it turns out, and this is crazy I know, but it turns out that there is more to making music than just chord progressions. We have to actually, make music. Alright, right here we got some of our stems. Now, everything you see here was figured out using the system we just talked about. Every one of these tracks should be able to line up with any other one of these tracks. Yeah, we have drums, we have the cute crush synth, old time recording keys, very lo-fi, some strings, an arpeggiator, a bass, no, I'm sorry, this is a guitar, and a bass to go with it all. So I really made a point to get a wide variety of different sounds and timbres. I sometimes let it just play solid chord like this. And sometimes do some big fancy arpeggios. So the other thing that I was very, very careful to do while putting these stems together is no two measures are alike. Even in these big 16 bar phrases, you have 16 unique individual measures. Like, for instance, this drum groove right here. The kick is always coming on 1, the snare is always coming on 3, you always have consistent 8th note hi-hats. It's just every measure I've placed 1 extra hi-hat in a different place. So no two measures throughout this entire drum groove are exactly the same, but all of them are similar. So what I can do is take everything and loop it. Now I have 32 bars, but the first 16 and the second 16 are going to be exactly the same. So I'm just going to click one of the tracks, delete it, and bring over the 8-bar phrase from that track and double it. Bring in my 4-bar phrase, bring in my 2-bar phrase, my 1-bar phrase. And that's all it took, and now we're up to bar 81. Every single measure is completely new and original. And I can just keep this process going, except I take out this time the guitar track, say, for instance. And I've created a song that, just as the thumbnail says, always sounds the same, but never repeats. But just how long is always? Take a walk with me. You know how just the other day you were thinking, you know what we don't have enough of on YouTube? Math. It's pretty easy to figure out just how many variations we have on this melody. All you have to do is take the amount of chord progressions we have, 5, and raise it to the power of how many instruments are playing these progressions, 7. That's a pretty easy formula, and it gives us the absolutely unreal number of 78,125. 78,000 variations. That's over 300,000 measures, each one unique from the last. If you were to systematically put that all together and play them back to back and listen to it, you would finish the song in 10 days, a week and a half of listening to one song, never hearing the same measure, but never hearing anything different. Now, there's some of you who may be particularly big-brained who have noticed that I've been lying to you, because there's not 5 different progressions we're using, there's actually 6. You see, it's possible, and by possible I really just mean preferred, that not every instrument is playing at the same time. That means there's a whole nother variation where an instrument's just not playing, updating our equation to 6 raised to the 7th power, which I know that just seems like a small detail, but that raises our variations from 78,000 to 279,000 variations, giving us 1.2 million completely unique measures from each other. If you were to put that and systematically lay it out and listen to the whole song from beginning to end, it would take you over a month, 38 days, to listen from the beginning to the end of this song. But you know the craziest part? I genuinely don't care. In 1987, the same year that Guns N' Roses released their infamous album Appetite for Destruction, John Cage had an appetite for something a little more bizarre. He released a song called Organ ASLSP. And on the surface, this song is a fairly normal song, especially by John Cage's standards, except for the tempo marker, which is
as slow as possible.
A whole list of performers lined up answering the question, exactly how slow is as slow as possible. Some of these performances lasting up to 14 hours. And that lasted right up until after John Cage's death, when a group of fans of his rigged an organ in Germany to play this song slowly over the course of 600 years. That kind of puts my 38.8 days to shame, doesn't it? But you see, that's just the thing. I set out to create the perfect study music. And the fact is, if you're studying for more than 4 hours at a time, You need to get a life, my friend. So instead of just systematically copy, paste, change, copy, paste, change, copy, paste, change until I get a month worth of music, what if I actually listen to everything and I narrow it down to just the best 4 hours of music? Isn't that better? This conversation is in serious danger of getting really pretentious really fast. I'm kind of tempted to go on a big spiel about how my artistic intent outweighs the mathematical jargon. But the fact is, there's only one way of knowing if my decision to cut this song from thousands of hours to 4 hours was a good decision or not, and that's to test it out. So I've been drawing for about 3 hours. I'm not really sick of it yet. Like it's not bothering me at all, despite it having been going for 3 hours now. But I am sick of drawing. I'm gonna finish it out reading. Oh. Alright, I freaking did it. I made the perfect study music. Go down in the description below and you'll find a link to this song in its entirety. If you have some house chores to do, a book that you want to read, a project that you need to work on, put this on in the background and see if it helps you focus. And if it does help you focus, let me know in the comments below. If it doesn't help you focus, let me know in the comments below. I'm actually curious to what you guys have to say about it. If you want to see more weird experiments that I've done with music, check out this video right here where I went head to head with an AI to see who could write a better song. If that's not your cup of tea, that's fine. Here's a song I wrote about possums and it's kind of goofy. Anyway, see you in the next one.